continue with our Theology of the Body Mondays. I know it's been a couple of weeks since we've kind of spoken about theology of the body because of Easter and Annunciation. So just a reminder, last time we were talking a little bit about relations before or outside of marriage and some of the reasons of why this is immoral. This is not just like, it's just because it is, but there's a logic of love behind this reality. Also a logic of just anthropology, right? It is not the most loving thing. It is actually not the best thing to have relations outside of marriage. And we actually can, with some of the things we were saying about how there's like a meaning to the act, that we don't get to choose the meaning of the act, but it is intrinsic to what it means to be human. Just like punching somebody in the face has a meaning. So we were talking a little bit about that, and we get the theological reasons and anthropological reasons. Today I'll just talk a little bit about some other more practical reasons of why it's not good. It's not a good idea to have relations outside of marriage. So what happens when one has relations? There is the possibility of a pregnancy. And when there is no commitment between the couple, there is no marriage. And there is indeed a pregnancy between these two people who are not committed to each other. Again, outside of just like the act itself, there's the immorality of the act itself, like we talked about before. There's also other great consequences when this pregnancy happens, right? For example, consequences for the child, right? In this case, the child is born without a stable set of parents, right? And this is just is just not good for the child. And even if both parents stick around, if they're not married, it's not gonna be a stable home for the child. Also, it happens with a lot of regularity that at times actually that the dad will leave as soon as he finds out that the person got pregnant, which is completely irresponsible of the father to do that, right? John Paul II often talks about love and responsibility. There's a responsibility to love. There is a responsibility to sexual actions. And so if I'm going to choose to have relations, I have to be able to be responsible for the possible consequences of my actions. And if I am not willing to be responsible, then I should not engage in the thing. Right? If I'm not willing to be responsible for the possibility of pregnancy, then I should not be engaging in sexual acts, right? Also, kind of related to all this, here we're just speaking about this child growing in a home with no stable parents. Well, actually, a lot of times, what happens too, because of sex outside of marriage, is the temptation to abortion, right? Oftentimes, it could be the man pressuring the woman to do this because he does not want the child. Oftentimes, it can be just the woman who chooses this. Oftentimes, it's the man who leaves her, and her complete fear of what she's going to do now with the baby by herself, and the fear of being a single mother, which perhaps tempts her more greatly, or perhaps pushes her to make such an awful decision, right? And so again, we see a lot of other things regarding just the act itself being immoral, that it's just not a good idea to have relations outside of marriage. Another practical reality is just the biological thing that relations does to someone. So sex binds you to the person. There's chemicals that are released in our brains that binds you to the person with whom you're having relations. There's a bonding, and it binds you to the person. So when there's no commitment, right, when this is happening outside of marriage, this means that very likely, eventually you're going to leave each other, assuming there's some stability to the relationship, even though it's not marriage. And but it's still, you're gonna leave each other, and this just creates it's like a recipe for even harder heartbreak than just regular dating, because you're not only attached emotionally, but you're attached even biologically, right? And so it makes it doubly painful, and it also skews your mind to be able to make right judgment of whether you should continue dating a person or not. Oftentimes, a person, it's a horrible idea for a relationship to continue, but yet they can't see clearly because of the attachment that they have, just biologically speaking, and this can make them also make the wrong decision, perhaps, of getting married. But because they can't see clearly, they can't choose to not be with each other, because now they've been involved in this way, and they're attached, again, not only emotionally, but even like chemically, biologically speaking, And because they've been saying to each other with their bodies, I am completely yours, right? Even if they don't particularly mean it, or even if it's just not the best idea that they be together. Not too long ago, as I was teaching a little bit of this theology of the body to the teens, I heard, I don't know, in a video or something, I can't remember, but somebody talk about this phrase that it tends to be used in society of safe sex, right? And people, when they talk about, oh, you should have safe sex, they mean, use contraception. But this person who was speaking, can't remember who it was making the argument, no, we know what safe sex is sex in a stable and loving, committed relationship, that is marriage. That's really where the only place where safe sex can be found. One doesn't leave, one doesn't have to be just kind of dating or having relations for heartbreak. There's no fear of being left, of the possibility of pregnancy and not being able what to do because you don't have a spouse who's committed to you, no fear of being played with, etc. Not to say that if one is married, all these possibilities go away, but just if it is a stable, loving relationship, committed relationship in a marriage, it's the structure that allows all these things to go away. So the loving thing, both morally speaking, theologically speaking, anthropologically speaking, and also practically speaking regarding relations, that they be within the context of